Mike, check. Justin Hunt, it's all happening. Thank you to everyone who's supporting this channel through the Cash App or the link tree. Every little bit helps. If you want to donate to the Cash App, it's right up there. Thank you to everyone who's been sharing videos, spreading the good word. My subscriber count keeps growing, so I'm really blessed and highly favored, so thank you all. And thank you all to my new members. My new member, I got one new member, brand new member, LL Biddy One. Big shout out to you, LL Biddy One. Thank you so much for joining the community. Also, big shout out to Antoine Kingsbury and Elijah Leal. They donated to the Cash App this week as well. I really appreciate you guys. It's a sunny day. The gang's all here. No chip on my shoulder. Ha 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 ha. If you ever heard that new Doechii, punch yourself in the face. Now, we had a really tight race this week for the #1 album on the Billboard 200. It was Travis Scott, Days Before the Rodeo, versus Sabrina Carpenter's Short and Sweet. Now, this was tight. This was tight all week long, all the way up until today's Billboard reporting. Here's how Hits Daily Double described it. The history of the charts is also a history of skullduggery. Back in the bad old days, terms like bagman and free goods and boxes of cleans were bandied about as labels jockeyed for chart advantage. In an era of virtually zero transparency. If you're old enough to remember those times, we hope you're remembering to take your fiber supplements. Got to make sure everything stays flowing. Chart manipulation in the present era requires a different set of licit, illicit, and semi-illicit shenanigans. The difference between cheating and outside-the-box marketing often depends on a rather nebulous set of rules. Okay, they're describing the modern music industry, which is, more transparency than previous generations, but it's still an industry created by gangsters. So, which brings us to the wildly contentious chart battle between Sabrina Carpenter and Travis Scott. Carpenter's new album, Short and Sweet, buoyed by two of the year's biggest singles, was expected to coast to #1. Then Scott put out a 10-year-old mixtape, Days Before Rodeo, which originally appeared on SoundCloud and challenged her for the top spot on the Billboard chart as each approached 350,000 in their opening frames. Those are two highly performing projects. 350,000, that's nothing to sneeze at in this market environment. The chart has become so easily manipulated that Travis, manager David Stromberg, and Sony battled Republic Corp's Lipman Brothers and Jim Ropo, as well as Island SVP Commerce Marshall Nolan all weekend as they awaited indie retail numbers that would give a 10th inning advantage to one of the combatants. Exclusive signed digital copies and late in the week arrival of more vintage Scott material from the vaults were key to Team Travis's overtime campaign, while quarterback Stromberg and his squad pushed for those crucial points. They're making this sound like they know it's football season. They got the football language in this mug right now. Depending on Travis's final digital album sales, which hit 300,000 over the weekend, that total could be greater than the rest of the industry's total digital album sales for the previous weeks. Travis Scott, I'm going to read that sentence again. Listen to this. Depending on Travis's final digital album sales, which hit 300,000 over the weekend, that total could be greater than the rest of the industry's total digital album sales for the previous week. All digital sales, incidentally, were priced at $4.99. When Reggie told me that Kanye's success with Vultures and Carnival was more about an anemic industry, this is what he's talking about. The challenges to both opponents' claims of legitimacy have prolonged the outcome of this chart battle. How much of this bounty will be included in the final tally? Will any be tossed? Keep that in mind. That's going to come back. We have no idea. It's clear that if this were determined by streaming alone, Carpenter would take the chart crown in a walk. But Scott, arguably the only hip-hop artist other than Kendrick Lamar and Future who can move the marketplace right now, along with his formidable team, is a fierce competitor. Republic, of course, is no stranger to retail surprises that have earned them a come-from-behind chart victory. Just ask Billie Eilish, Zach Bryan, or Gracie Abrams. We await the call from the refs, especially if there are any flags on the play. Stay tuned. Football season is here. Marching band season, not like us. They not like us. All right, so that is what Hits Daily Double reported at the end of last week, right? This was a really close battle, as you can see, right? They had all the football metaphors and everything in the article. Now, people expected Travis Scott to win, right? Academics posted this. This is the daily Billboard 200s, which you can see every day. This was week ending 8/29. So on 8/29, days before rodeo had 365,817 total, right? Short and Sweet had 354,000, right? So on 8/29, Travis Scott, he looks like he's up a solid 11,000. He looks like that's what he's up. He looks like he's up 11,000, right? As they say, it was all good just a week ago because Sabrina Carpenter's Short and Sweet debuts at #1 on the Billboard charts. Now, this article came out today, so 4 days ago. So she made up 11,000 units in 4 days. If you look at this again, it says Travis Scott has 365,000. That's what it says. Right. It says it's 365,000. Here's Billboard. Sabrina Carpenter achieves her first #1 album on the Billboard 200 chart as her new studio album, Short and Sweet, debuts atop the tally. The set earned 362,000 equivalent album units in the U.S. in the week ending August 29, according to Illuminate. Illuminate's, they work with Billboard. They're the ones who certify all the numbers, marking her best week ever and the year's third largest debut. The set, which is also her first top 10 charting effort, was announced on June 3rd, and its August 23rd release was preceded by a pair of top 3 charting Billboard Hot 100 hit songs. Espresso went to #3, and Please, 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 that's been everywhere. That was #1. All right, so meanwhile, the official release of Travis Scott's 2014 mixtape, Days Before Rodeo, opens at #2, marking his 5th top 5 charting effort. The set earned a little over 361,000 equivalent album units, the year's 4th largest debut and biggest week for any rap album. Of that sum, sales comprised 331,000, yielding 2024's second biggest sales week and best sales week for any rap album. Days Before Rodeo, August 23rd release was announced on August 18th. So they showed up. They showed up a few days before and was like, you know what, we're going to sell this. Let's see what we can do to Sabrina Carpenter. This is what they talk about with like industry, how the industry rolls, how the industry competes with each other. They're like, yeah, whatever. Sabrina Carpenter would have coasted if Travis Scott didn't say, yo, we got this other one sitting on the shelf right here. What if we just bring this one back real fast? Yeah. The 10th anniversary of the set's initial free release in 2014. Until August 23rd, the set had never been commercially released nor officially made widely available through all streaming services. All right, so Sabrina Carpenter wins, but here's where the controversy comes in. If you look at the final numbers again, Sabrina Carpenter, she tallied 362,000, right? Travis Scott ultimately ended with 361,000, right? Well, we just looked at what he was predicted. He was at 365,000 the week ending 8/29. This is academics. He says, Travis beats Sabrina. Why Billboard delaying the chart, right? Well, because he actually did it, right? He actually did it. Now, here's the difference in what happened. Travis Scott put together a ton of bundles, right? So if you look at, I mean, they both put bundles together, but Travis came in late with a lot of bundles, right? So if you take a look at this part right here, here's a recap of the assorted digital album variants when they were released. He had a standard edition, a standard digital download on August 23rd, a digital album, deluxe album on August 23rd, a digital deluxe album Vault 1 on August 29th, digital deluxe album Vault 2 on August 29th, DBR standard edition plus live from Atlanta on August 29th, DBR deluxe edition plus chopped and screwed edition on August 29th, The Digital Deluxe album Vault 3 on the same day. Digital Deluxe album Vault 4 on the same day. So he had like 8 different bundles, 8 different versions of this project, and he tried to bundle them together. So that is a heavy push to get number one. Heavy push to get number one. So I wanted to get more clarity on what went down between Sabrina Carpenter and Travis Scott, because it looks funny. I mean, there is a conversation online that is saying some behind the scenes industry shenanigans pulled that away from Travis Scott because he was up by so much just a few days ago. And so I reached out to DJ Z, Brian Zook from AudioMac. He's the Senior Vice President of Operations at AudioMac. I really appreciate you, Brian. So I asked him what he thought about it. He said, Travis Scott released multiple bundles. All bundles need to be pre-cleared with Luminate. It's possible they were not, and those that were not cleared were discounted or subtracted. So Luminate has to clear any bundles that are sold. They have to tally. They have to align with what Luminate and Billboard are reporting. It's possible that could be the gap. It did mention that a number of these bundles were sold on his own website. So perhaps that number was a bit inflated because of the bundles that were being put together. Now, Z added some other color to this. He says, according to DJ Z, his efforts probably helped Sabrina too. Once it was announced, it was closer than expected. It galvanized her fans, giving her a late week extra push. Now, Billboard actually reported on that as well. So obviously when people have friends or artists they support that are dropping, people tweet about it. So Carpenter and Scott's debuts were both aided by social media chatter about them potentially vying for number one on the Billboard 200. The two artists also had promotional help on social media from some very famous friends. Among the endorsements, Taylor Swift shouted out her former Eras tour mate Carpenter in her Instagram story. Carpenter's rumored boyfriend, Barry Keegan, he also shared the buy link, and then Kanye supported Travis Scott. So that's what Z means when he says his efforts probably helped Sabrina too. Once it was announced, it was closer than expected. It galvanized her fans, giving it a late week extra push. But this is Z's biggest takeaway, and I really respect what he says here. Here's his biggest takeaway. My ultimate takeaway, bundles or not, is that Travis is more popular than most give him credit for. He is more popular than J. Cole and Future at present. That he did those numbers, inflated or not, on a 10-year-old mixtape cleared for streaming is incredible. Travis Scott put out old music and almost had the number one album on the Billboard 200. It's kind of hard to knock Cactus Jack. So this is what happened with the charts. This is the explanation. This is why Travis Scott was, even though he was ahead a few days ago, he ended up coming in second, which is still a major accomplishment. Congratulations to Sabrina Carpenter. She got her first number one, which is great. And big thank you to DJ Z for, giving some insight in this segment. Let me know what you guys think of this. Have you heard Sabrina Carpenter's album? Have you enjoyed going back and listening to Rodeo? Or maybe you heard Days Before Rodeo, rather, for the first time. My name is Justin Hunt. Like, subscribe to the channel. Follow at The Company Man on everything. It's all happening.
Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. The mathematical breakdown of this mighty game of rap we in. It's boom bapping in. Systematical culture views, it's radical, it's all happening. Shaking hands and dapping it. Life through the lens of hip-hop, from trip-hop to yes, dog, you don't stop, you don't stop. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening. Justin Hunt is here, it's all happening. It's all happening, yes, it's all happening.